a podcast to honor the gods.
This better come with a sacrifice.
Dave X Media.
Hello and welcome to Content and Capable, a podcast all about following your passions while still feeling like a proper adult. My name's Sam and I'm your host. This week I spoke with Zach from My Cabbages all about his work as an artist, what it involves, and the weird challenges and experiences he's faced in the role. Welcome to Content and Capable, Zach. It's lovely to have you back.
Thanks for having me. Last time we were on, it was like we were sprawled out in the same room, like with wires going over the top of us after having just moved and basically being completely exhausted.
Yeah, crazy time. It's been a crazy couple of months, I think, for all of us. Last time you were on, wow, I swear I had you on. Yeah, I did. I had you on at like the start of the year, and since then we've met in person and like a whole bunch of other bits and pieces.
I know. You were just like another like person on the podcast network, and I feel like several people were just another person on the podcast network, and now I've seen all of your faces in person, even like post-COVID, which is wild. That's like another crazy thing that's happened.
The whole post-COVID stuff is so fascinating. Like being able to see people that you've been interacting with online in person. I think I freaked Charlie out a little bit when I met Charlie for the first time. I was just like, the whole idea of like, you have a lower half of your body that like I've been imagining for the last X amount of months.
I know. It's like the weird intrusive kind of thought that like always goes through like, wow, this is a human being that's in front of me.
Yeah. And it's not like if there's anything bad or anything. It's just like, oh, that's different.
Right. I've only ever imagined you from the shoulders up because of 100% because of Zoom.
Well, we'll get right into it. Zach, do you want to give a bit of a rundown of who you are and the podcast that you host, and then a little bit about your work?
Sure. Yeah. So Sam invited me to be on this podcast to talk about, I guess, art stuff. My name is Zach. I live in Baltimore. I run a podcast with my partner, Alex, called My Cabbages. It's an Avatar: The Last Airbender podcast. Random tangent. I just started the first Kyoshi book, and I really enjoy it. It's going well. So we talk about Avatar. We go episode by episode and just sort of like do riffs and make like fart and dick jokes and dumb stuff like that. But we also like get into the weeds of the themes and stuff. We have a great time. So check us out maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll be on it in a few weeks. Yeah, maybe Sam will show up. Who knows? I don't know. I do know. It's happening soon. It's the next episode of my like to edit list. I am a freelance artist by trade. I do illustration, animation. I mostly specialize in like 2D video game assets or content generally. I have done art for games that have never been released. I've done art for board games. I've done art for relatively successful things. And now I do art for a bunch of YouTubers who play Among Us.
I just love how like Among Us is still a thing that exists.
Like, I can't believe not only is it still a thing that exists, but it's still profitable to make the content.
Look, I think it's one of the beauties of the internet that there are corners for people to just, what was it? Oh, we were talking about Leah Michelle. I was talking about Leah Michelle with some friends. And like the whole fact that, people who loved Glee when it was coming out, like still exist. They're still there. And there is still plenty of content made for these people. All of these weird like phases that the internet had, people are still engaging with them regularly. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Like YouTube has just, man, if I could travel back in time to like my 15, 16-year-old self and just tell him what YouTube was going to fucking be one day, I think he would have started a channel.
Oh yeah, 100%.
because people that got in on this, like all. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. I got a random Discord. Let me actually, before I forget, let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Because I need to be able to hear notifications for work. So I did the unthinkable a few weeks ago. I made my phone make noise at me again. I've been like a silent mode or vibrate phone guy for probably the past 5 or 6 years. And I was finally just like, nope, I can't afford to miss these Discord messages.
Yeah,
yeah.
I am. My pet peeve is people having notification noises on, but every now and then it's like, oh, the situation demands that I turn it on, and then you forget to turn it off. It's like, oh, there is like every second noise coming from my phone.
Well, what happens for me is like, because I just have always defaulted to having it on vibrate. The problem is I just have numb thighs. I guess I don't feel it nearly often enough.
Oh yeah. I've had to like customize the vibrates on my phone to be like uber powerful so I don't miss phone calls and things like that.
But for me, it comes down to every single time I'm in like a movie theater or something and some warning comes up that says like silence your cell phones, I have always just been like, got you covered already. Like we're cool, we're good. And then nowadays when like my phone goes off and I'm like, oh shit, that's right, I'm supposed to
if I'm feeling kind, I'll put Do Not Disturb on. But other than that, it's all good. Like, I don't have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm. So, go ahead.
Yeah, the internet is a weird place where things like Among Us are still relevant from time to time. I also feel like it's a bit of a comfort thing as well. It's like, oh, look, Among Us. It's something we're used to and we're fond with.
Oh, yeah, Among Us. I have do I have it up here? Where is it? I have a sticker that I'm going to put on my brand new PC, which I will also talk about because, hey, I just built a new PC and it's great. I have a sticker that just says sus, which is like, it's like very common. So for anybody who is living under a rock, doesn't know what Among Us is a video game made by, don't tell me, Inner Sloth. The company is called Inner Sloth. They make this game where basically you are little cartoon astronauts going around a space base doing little tasks, and you all have to complete all your tasks with little mini games that, you have to like clean up the garbage chute. You have to go and do the whatever. It's boring, you say. Well, at least 1 or 2 people, usually 1, 2 if it's like a big number of people playing, are imposters that are trying to kill you all and get away with it. It's good, clean fun. Listen, I have always loved hidden identity games. Like ever since I was like a kid, I used to play Mafia like at parties where everybody like closes their eyes and then you pick an imposter, or you pick a Mafia, and then you pick like other power roles maybe, and then there's one person who's like running the show. And you're like, you do that like at a party. You can like be sitting in like a jacuzzi or like around a table and you can play Mafia. And this is basically just that with more context. It's great. I think
in the context of the pandemic when it came out, I think it was a really great, like with the online multiplayer options, it's a really great opportunity to reconnect with people playing like a game that is very familiar with little to no like explanation of the rules. This
is an interesting little fun fact, actually, and you're right about that. The fact that you can download it for $2 on the App Store. Or $5, I forget how much it is. It's very affordable, is my point. And you can play it on if you don't have a computer to play it on, guess what? You play it on your freaking cell phone. But fun fact, Among Us actually came out quite a while before the pandemic. I think it came out in early 2019. And it just, nobody really connected with it. Nobody saw it. It didn't get like discovered. It just like, they just assumed it was relatively a dead game. And then some big Twitch players find it and they start streaming it on Twitch, and it just exploded. Like it got everywhere. It got everywhere.
It's one of those games that creates great YouTube content because it manufactures light drama. And let's be honest, anyone who's like watches content on the internet is there for the drama.
Yes.
And if you can create like light drama without hurting people's livelihoods, you've got a great content farm.
It is a safe place for like that kind of like banter that is just completely like again, safe. Like you're not gonna ruffle any feathers, like pointing the finger at Michael Reeves and calling him a fucking liar because he's lying about it's fun. It's good, clean fun. You can be very like rough with people, and it's still all in the spirit of the game. But Among Us is kind of over. Kind of like in general, the meminess of it. It's always gonna be like it's gonna be like Advice Dog or whatever. Like there's gonna be like timeless, but it is kind of over, except for in some small pockets, like the one that I currently draw a meal ticket from.
So then, what do you do then in creating these editions for Among Us games?
So this is, people at parties will be like, hey, what do you do? And I'm just like, I'm an art director for a game studio, because it's way easier than trying to explain what it actually is that I do.
100%. Yeah.
So this is what happens. I and several other leads, we get mod outlines. So there'll be mods for Among Us that will be kind of outlandish or crazy. They'll be like the Toy Story mod, or like the Monsters Incorporated mod, where you go through doors and teleport all over the place, or mods that honestly, frankly, have very little to do with Among Us. They just use the system. And then there are other ones that are more typical, where we have like an imposter and stuff like that. But some of them are just big sweeping stories. I think they did one for Thanos that was like, it was, you went all over the freaking MCU. The map was huge and gorgeous. They had like a fully articulate like Doctor Strange like it was wild. I don't know, just an insane amount of work for some of these things that get put together. But basically we get them, we break them up. We do all the art assets, and then the developers take them and actually program them as mods. And then the YouTubers play them for their videos. They shoot it and they play it in their videos. And then it's just, I guess, thrown out. It's stored on a server, obviously, but like we don't like release them. They're like so I make games for like these people to play and no one else, but other people watch them play it, which is the fun part. So you're not even designing a mod that's like fun to play. You're designing for something that is engaging to watch,
I suppose, and that's like a completely different approach to like creating, a design of a software. It might look really boring at parts, but like, or real janky, but then, the key moments that, are in the video look really good.
It's knowing what to keep in, knowing what to like cut out. Like, editing is a big important part of it too. And it's like you're always and this is a little bit exclusive. What I'm talking about right here is every once in a while some bug will happen, and like everyone will, we know who the imposter is now. But for the sake of the video, we have to just pretend that we don't and finish the game out, because we've already committed to shooting like all of this already. But for the most part, it's fun to hear that they have fun.
It would be pretty like disheartening if they were just there farming the content rather than
there's
actually having a bit of fun.
There's a little bit of that, right? Like we're all at the end of the day like trying to make a living and like trying to put food on the table, so to speak. So we're all kind of coming at it from the understanding of like, hey, this is like a regular gig, and maybe it's not every single one of our first choice of things to do, but it's not far from our first choice. We still get to make cool art and have a good time, and we get paid. So it's a stable gig, which in the art world is something you don't let go of.
Yeah, I suppose that's like almost the trappings of it, right? Even like for a content creator, once you find that like that thing, that typecast, you just don't stop creating that content. And often you can get into this trap of a cycle. And, for some people, they really enjoy creating the same thing week in, week out. But I know I would get incredibly itchy feet if I was doing the same thing over and over again.
Well, with YouTube, I almost feel like it's even more insidious, right? Because they have the algorithm, and the algorithm knows what content is theirs, and if they release content that's like the other content on their channel that's doing well, the algorithm is going to be more inclined to promote that video. So it's almost like the algorithm itself is incentivizing like trying something new.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, and even on like platforms like TikTok and Instagram, it's like they do the similar thing where it's like, oh, I've been typecast as this, and I actually want to try something else. So yeah, it would be fascinating.
It's just an interesting space right now. Like, there are, I think, not a whole lot of operations kind of on this scale. The cool thing is that it's this guy Sunday and a bunch of his like YouTube friends, and they all play the game. And so not only does Sunday get a video for his channel, but everyone else that participates, they give their time to Sunday for the video, and they all get a video out of it too. Like they all can release that content to their channel as well. So all these cool, unique mods they like, get in on and stuff.
Yeah. I think that like I think that is like a really interesting aspect to this, where it is like trying something new, and while Among Us is an incredibly simple game generally, it's it's a very very easy thing to like change up, or as you said, multiple points of view on the content. I remember when like the Irish lads got together and did a lot of Among Us content. It was like watching it from each different perspective was really great, because you got to see what they thought was important, but B, how they reacted to each situation as well.
Yeah. No, it's a like, I'm very happy for Innersloth, because they're probably this tiny little operation. I can tell just from like how Among Us is put together, and how we've had to like fish through the code to try to like, make our lives easier. Like, this was probably just made with love by a bunch of, indie tryhards, frankly.
Yeah.
Much love, Innersloth. But it has, like, it's one of those things that's like, Paranormal Activity, that movie that,
yeah,
I think it was made for like $20,000, and then it went to the theater and grossed like over $100 million. And it's like, it's way more impressive than a $100 million movie grossing $100 million. It's a $20,000 movie, so it has made a lot of money, right?
Yeah. And I suppose the little effort high reward that it gets at the moment, at least, is like a great business model. But obviously, then there's the future and other things to keep in mind as well.
Well, it's like, I wouldn't call it a business model, because what it essentially is like, you put out this little project or whatever, and I guess, like, you're just trying to make some money back on it at all. And, if you're very, very lucky, something will take off and it'll explode, and like, it'll become a part of the culture, like I feel like it was that way with Minecraft, where Minecraft was this very small little patchwork project that Notch began, years and years and years ago. And now it's probably made over $1 billion at this point. Like, it's ridiculous how much money Minecraft has made.
I think that's one of the like fascinating aspects to art, is often the simplicity really like wins out over the complexity. I vividly remember writing some really embarrassing, like to be frank, short stories, and like just so complex, so many ideas trying to be incorporated all at once. And then in year 12, finally getting the hang of it, my last year of high school, and, submitting it to, having it good enough to submit to like a writing competition. But it wasn't like, it didn't feel like a story to me. It didn't feel like there was a narrative. It just was like, oh, this is just a really simple, emotive moment that I've managed to capture in words that I moved someone and, got my first A in English in like 3 years. I don't know. It's one of those. It's so fascinating. And the more people I speak to creatively, it's like, how can we make this as simple or as low energy as possible?
Yeah. Well,
so that we can, capitalize on it.
It's often like ease of use. In VR, it's called low mental load. And it refers to like how difficult is it to do a thing that should be entirely effortless, right? And that I think is a thing that I love about VR is like, you're trying to explain to someone how to pick up a gun and take the cartridge out of it. And you have to go like, oh, you push up on the analog stick until you move forward to the table. And then you see the dialogue that pops up that says press square to pick up the gun. And then you press square and you pick up the gun. And then if you hold this button, you'll drop the clip and you'll replace it, right? And you're like, okay, that to an average person who engages with video games often, that doesn't sound all that difficult. But then someone else comes up and they put on a VR headset and they say, okay, here's what you have to do to pick up the gun, and you take the cartridge out. You walk up to the table, you pick up the gun, and then you take the cartridge out. Like, it's just instantaneous. You pick up the controllers, you know how to use them.
I think part of it, like, I'm not a frequent video game player, and it does frustrate me when I go and play a video game every now and then. What I think is more frustrating is the running commentary in the back of my with the backseat driver sitting beside me telling me what I should be doing. But, it is incredibly frustrating to sit there and be going, I'm really struggling to do this because it does not make sense as to what's going on. And I think that's part of the beauty of the simplicity of something like Among Us, where you literally just use the WAS and D keys to move around, and then you press like one or two other buttons for special features, and that's it.
Like, there's a game series I've always loved as a kid called WarioWare that for mobile consoles and stuff. Like, and it's just a bunch of mini games, and literally they're all one button. They all only use the A button. You press it at certain times, you press it and hold it. Like, depending on the game, like, you have to manipulate the A button in different ways. And it's easy and simple, and everybody gets it. And I've always wanted an RPG, actually, like a tabletop RPG that is like that has like enough depth to sink your teeth into without like taking forever to explain to someone. I haven't found it just yet.
Yeah, it reminds me of that episode of Community where they're playing, Annie and Abed are playing that VCR tabletop game to like decide on who's moving into the apartment as the third member of the apartment.
Oh, I remember this.
It is just like some of the most whack thing. You just leave the VCR playing and it's just all this like crazy bullshit moving so quickly that like, the two potential new roommates are like, you've turned into crazy people here. What the hell's going on?
I love that they had like that room in their apartment that was like done up like the holodeck, and they refused to let Annie move into it. God, that show.
Community is like, I'm almost finished a rewatch of it at the moment, and it's just one of those things that you can put on in the background, and you could just look at for 5 seconds and go, "Oh, look, crazy shit's happening," and then keep moving on. It almost has the longevity of Bob's Burgers, although it gets a bit dated from time to time.
A little bit, once in a while, but there are just some episodes like, man, when I was in college, I managed, which actually probably prepared me for this position, which we'll get to in a minute. But I ran the Humans versus Zombies chapter. Are you familiar with the concept? I don't know if they do that in Australia.
Little bit. Yeah.
I'm
vaguely aware.
You get a bunch of Nerf guns, and you all start out as humans. Nerf guns. You have socks that you can act as grenades, clean socks preferably, and people will like Rambo out. They'll have like bandoliers of socks, and they'll like have giant Nerf guns strapped to their backs. People get really into it. But one person starts as a zombie, and all they have to do is tag you. And if they tag you, you're also a zombie. And what very quickly happens is the zombies amass a small group, and that group then just starts chewing through the humans. And by the end of the week, there's a small contingent of humans that are like facing off against the swarm of hordes. And the zombies are like, they're not dumb zombies. They're like smart humans, so they're coordinating with each other and getting on their fucking cell phones and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a great time, and I modded it for several years just because we didn't have one, and I wanted one so bad. I wanted to play, but like I was like, I'm okay with modding it, making sure like it's above board. Oh, Community.
Oh.
Community was probably
Yeah,
the paintball, the like paintball episodes where like the whole school gets really into this like crazy game.
Oh yeah.
Is like they always get me. I always love those. And then there was the blanket fort one that I really liked too. Community was weird. Anyway, tangent.
What a great like TV show that kind of like represents the ridiculousness of real life sometimes. As someone who goes to college as well, it's just like this whole what the fuck is going on here? Like why are we doing this?
It feels like a lot of like popular like dramas and TV. They show adults like being adults and doing adult things. And like I always watch those shows and I'm like, "Oh, am I not an adult? I'm like in my 30s, but like I still like, goof around and crack jokes and try to play a little now and then."
Yeah, it's fascinating as well because there are like a couple of like conversations I have every now and then. I'm like, oh look, this conversation has turned silly already because like we're discussing. I don't know. As a journalist, we discuss some really morbid things. It's like, oh, this death isn't important enough, or something like that.
Oh my god, yeah, that's so hardcore.
But like, sometimes I have a conversation. One of my friends got quite drunk at a ball the other week, and complained to me that the Nut Bush wasn't being played, which is so. For anyone who doesn't live in Australia, I've had to explain this a couple of times. Nut Bush City Limits is this song by I think it's Tina Turner, and. I'm literally searching it up now. Anyway, there is a Macarena style dance that we learn as children in school to it. I think maybe New Zealanders as well. And it is like cult. You do it, everyone else joins in.
Right.
So at one point during the middle of this ball, us, a group of 20-plus-year-olds, decide that we're going to do the Nut Bush to whatever music is being played. And I think we get about like a good quarter of the people who are attending this ball to do the Nut Bush. And it's like, how did that happen? Like if anyone was like a quote unquote adult, this wouldn't have happened at all. But no. We've decided to take the childish route and, do the Nut Bush.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
So, you alluded to before while we were discussing your role within the organization. Do you want to discuss a little bit about, your role as a team leader?
Sure. So I began my journey, doing assets for various video games here and there and getting gigs wherever I could. I've done some months where I just made a lot of paintings of people's dogs and drawings of D&D characters, but now that Midjourney exists, I can kiss that shit goodbye. We'll get to that too. But I now am an art lead, which is, if I do say so myself, pretty cool. I never quite thought, I have confidence in my skills in what I do to some degree. But there's always like, the imposter syndrome of it all, right? The like, oh, one of these days, someone's going to figure out that like, I'm not supposed to be here. It happens to all of us now and then. If you're doing what you love and it's going well, your brain is like inclined to, hey, like you should be more miserable just in general. So you're going to fuck up. Something's going to fuck up. You're not doing it right. And so, you just gotta, tamp that down and I guess believe in yourself is what I'm saying to your listeners. Just believe in yourself. But, actually though.
And like day to day, what does that look like? Like obviously being a team leader or a manager or something like that is like a weird, like I'm in power kind of thing, but also like a weird conversation of like, I'm now responsible for...
Right, it's responsibility. When they told me the hourly price hike or the hourly like wage adjustment for this position, I was like, oh, well, even though I'm not a big fan of responsibility, I am a big fan of that number. So I'll do it. Which is, how we come to all of our decisions in art. My biggest advice for being an artist is don't turn up your nose at a job.
But yeah, it is weird because you're like, oh, wait a second, you know, I'm being paid all this extra money to care a lot more about the work I do now.
Well, so essentially what I do is I will get a mod brief from designers, very talented designers that are like thinking up these ideas. They're like, oh, we want to do a mod where God, what was a good example recently? Castle Wars, a medieval castle mod where, you know, teams have castles across a moat, and they have to like do all this stuff, and then they can unlock these things, and then these things lead to those things, and like all these different elements of the game. It's like we build a whole like miniature game, like a whole entire new game. Like, and we try to do 3 of those a week. We don't always hit that, but we usually do at least 2. Not like in 1 week. What will happen is the mod brief will get designed, and then maybe like 3 or 4 weeks later, like the mod gets pushed out because it's staggered.
That's the other interesting aspect of this. You work from home, right? You know, and working from home is like a completely different, like obviously it's way more normalized now, but it's like a completely different mental mindset. How do you keep yourself motivated working from home?
It's not easy. And I've been at this my whole career. I've never gone to an office. Like historically, I've just never gone to an office. People like when the pandemic hit, they were like, oh, I can't believe I have to work from home now. And I'm like, bitch, I've been doing this my whole life. I'm uniquely prepared for this catastrophe. I already never leave my house.
So, you know, like as the pandemic started, obviously Alex working from home at the same time as you at one point?
For sure. I mean, we both still do. She goes in once a week. She goes in on Fridays, but other than that, we're both still working from home. And I get the office because of this little munchkin. He has to be kept separate from the cat, and so the best place to keep him is my office,
where he can scream at you while you work.
That's
do
right.
You work? Do you work?
He's like, hey, let me out of the fucking cage.
And like,
yeah,
I was about to say, doing this kind of like commission work where you've got a lot more direction in your artwork. Has that changed the way that you approach, creating artwork and things like that, just day to day?
Well, to be honest, and this is partially just because of all the stuff I've been doing lately and because of how busy I've been, but I haven't really made a lot of art for myself in a while. And I feel like I go through these. It's not anything like what like BPD people go through at all, but like I would describe some of my art stretches as like a little bit manic, where I feel like I'm just making like crazy. And just every day I get up and I want to draw, and then I want to do something, and then I want to draw, and then and there are some days where I'm just like, no, I don't think I'll draw today. I think I'll just watch Bob's Burgers again and do nothing.
Yeah. Bob's Burgers,
yeah.
doing nothing. What a great combination.
It's just it's surefire. It's always makes me feel better. Anyway, but I guess what it shows me is, and this was another thing I wanted to talk about, is that like when you're doing this kind of work, when you go like, okay, I'm an artist, I'm only gonna accept work that correlates to my ability to produce art. You almost feel like you're like cheating in a way. You're like, wait, this can't possibly be working. How is this working? And it doesn't work all the time. It's not like you will, if you decide to go this path, you will have months where you are heating up ramen noodles and wondering how you're going to pay your rent in 5 days. It's going to happen. But it's just, and then when you get a partner, it almost feels a little bit like, am I being selfish right now? Like,
Yeah.
I don't have stability. I can't offer a partner stability because once a job ends, like that's it. I gotta either find a new one or I gotta, draw furries, I guess. Like, and it's like, in my opinion, it's worth it. It's worth it because I would much rather do art for someone else and spend that time getting better at a skill that I covet, that I value, than like, if I'm flipping burgers, that's honest work. And I would never, ever like, look down on anyone for flipping burgers. But flipping burgers doesn't interest me in my spare time. So I could be the best in the world at flipping burgers, but I don't value that skill as much as drawing personally. So it's like, I may as well, if I'm going to get paid, if I have to get paid, I may as well do it getting better at the thing that I want to get better at.
Yeah. There was a weird conversation I had with my mother a couple of weeks ago where I was talking about doing the things I love and pursuing them as careers. Specifically for me, at least, journalism and audio production and podcasting are huge passions of mine. And I would love to, if someone's listening that could pay me to do this work, please hit me up at sam.the.journalist on Instagram and TikTok, and samobjournalist on Twitter, because I would love to be paid for that kind of work. But my mum brought up a weird point where she's like, isn't it going to like wreck your passion? Have you ever had that, like, you're following obviously one of your big passions? Have you ever like been worried about, I'm going to be, I'm going to lose the drive I have for this?
I definitely reckon with that on a semi-regular basis. The idea that like, I'm doing this for a living all the time, and I have to, even if I don't want to, even if I don't want to engage in that wonderful passion that I have. Maybe I really just want to fucking play Mario Kart and say fuck you to my responsibilities for the day, and then I have to make art. Obviously, I'm not 100% enjoying the experience if I am forced to do something. But I find that doesn't diminish the things that I want to do. I do the stuff that I have to do, so I get to do the stuff that I want to do. And for me, it's this, graphic novel that I've been working on for, it's not like, I wouldn't say working on, I would say preparing to work on, because I've done a lot of like world building and story crafting, and I haven't done a whole lot of actual like panel to panel drawing. That's not true. I've done the first chapter. Anyway, all the stuff that I have to do, that I'm stuck doing because I have to, make rent, make mortgage now. Hey, all the things that I do that I have to do to make my mortgage payments are things that converge. They're skills that I acquire that I can then use on things that I do enjoy, that I do want to do. And it's satisfying in a way, getting to a place that I like. I understand I understand a lot about pipelines now. I know how they work. I know how they function. I know where the like bottlenecks are and stuff like that. And I feel like the higher you go, the easier it is to find work. I'm not going to be, if this project ended next week, I'm sure I'd have another job offer fairly quickly, because I'm an art lead now. Like I have a higher status, and there's something satisfying about that too. That progression. It's the same progression I feel when I'm playing some open world RPG and I'm collecting all the most powerful armor. I just feel like I'm improving.
I also think like there's also a really interesting conversation about understanding creative direction as well, as to where is this project headed? What do you want out of it? What do you want this to look like? And understanding how people communicate that to you as well. I noticed this when we were developing the Deus Ex Media rebrand. There was a lot of not quite understanding what creative direction we all wanted to go in. And so we had to spend a day or two like sitting down and nutting out what direction we wanted this all to go in.
Mm-hmm. I was going to speak on something you mentioned earlier about losing the passion. And I think that like people who are afraid of like losing the passion, I understand that fear. I share it, but you can't let that like stop you and hold you back. Like buddy, don't go over there, please. Too fucking late. Bird shat on my shoulder. The bird shat
You think
on
by this
my
point,
shoulder.
You think by this point he would know not to shit in his shoulder?
Oh, he knows. No, he knows. He just does it anyway because he doesn't give a shit. Or he does give a shit.
Gives lots of shits. Presents.
Gives lots of shits. No, he knows that if he goes to his cage to poop, then I give him a treat afterwards. So I don't know why he is so averse to getting treats. Yeah, I'm talking to you. you can't let the fear of losing the passion kind of hold you back, because all talent is interest and hours. That's all it is. That's all talent ever is, in my opinion, is its interest and hours. If you are willing to learn and to put in the time, and that time is not all going to be spent enjoying the process, that's what it takes. That's what it takes to truly master a skill. And I say that as someone who hasn't even gotten close to mastering the skills that I'm engaging in with right now.
It's just like, it is such a fascinating concept of like following your dreams while still feeling like a proper adult. And oftentimes when your dream job is something as creative as, doing art or, playing music, it feels almost impossible. Like you're almost told that you can't be happy while earning money for it, because, you're selling out and you should be dead on the inside, and your soul shouldn't, you shouldn't feel satisfied at all. And it's like, there are ways to feel satisfied about your work without it having to be, the most glamorous, amazing thing ever.
Yeah. It's a job well done. Like I think the one thing that I probably miss in this new position is I just don't really get to get my hands actually dirty a lot. The other day I had like 4 or 5 art, like animation tasks left over for a mod that was due in like 2 or 3 days. And I was just like, well, I don't have a new mod to break up right now, so I'll take these. And it was fun. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually like making animations again and stuff like that and solving problems.
I think that's like the amazing thing of being a little bit higher up, is you get to be a bit more removed and a bit more abstract. But then every now and then you go down and you put your hand, as my dad says, you put your hands on the aircraft and you get some work done, and it's satisfying. Like, there are days here in the radio station where we don't have enough interns to write stories, so I write stories, and it is amazingly satisfying to sit down and write a bulletin start to finish and go and present it on air. It's a manic pixie dream girl kind of like you're trying to fit 700 words worth of writing in an hour plus research, but at the same time you get to the end of it and you're like, wow, this is you run on such an adrenaline high. And it's the same thing when you work on projects that are extremely satisfying.
Yeah. And like leadership comes with its own satisfaction, right? I get a mod, I break up the mod, I get to assign it to very talented artists who are also trying to make a living, and I get to give them work, which is just a great feeling to be like, hey, I have work for you. You're gonna bill every one of these hours and get paid. It's great stuff. And I get to assign them to fun things like, oh, cool, you get to draw Woody or whatever is the main character of the mod we're doing that week. And I get to compliment them a lot because they're all very talented. And majority of the time when they send me a thing, I thumbs up it and I go, that looks awesome. Like really well done. Great. I'm running out of I'm running out of variety in the way that I compliment people. I feel like I've said, nice work, looks good, probably like 600 times.
I use the word awesome all the time. Like, awesome. Let's keep going. Something like that.
And, when they steer off course a little, I have to be like, hey, like, what if we tried this? Or what if we tried that? And because I know the process, because I know how animation works, because I know how the software works, because I know how all of that stuff works, I know like, oh, I'll give an example. We have a house builder, the house builder mod. It's got houses that need to be built. Like, they need to be built with resources that you gather, and the players can drive cars. Let's just say that is the large broad strokes of the mod that we're designing, right? The designer is just going to go, oh, make it a house that gets more built as you gather resources, and they'll have a car to drive. They're not thinking of all the tiny, insignificant things that just happen that people assume. A good example, do you do a animation for the character getting into the car? Do you do an animation for the character getting out of the car? Is it more beneficial to just have that character disappear and have the player just start driving the car? Most of the time, people won't even notice. That's like a totally fine transition. But like, if you want to spend that extra time putting in the getting in and getting out of the car, it has to be like for a reason. the houses?
Yeah.
Do you do a bunch of skins on one rig? Do you do a bunch of PNGs that you transition between with like dust covering it so that it like, you don't see the swap of images? It's like all these little details that like you have to sit there and kind of like solve and figure out like, oh, this will work better as skins than as separate animations. Or, oh, if I split up the imposter and the crewmate, I can give them to 2 animators and have it be completed in twice the time. Little details like that are kind of the main sort of breadth of what I do. And then I get to see all the art come in. I get to see all the cool stuff come in. And then you get to see the mod on YouTube and you get like millions of views and stuff. And you get to go, hey, I led the art team on that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It is extremely satisfying when a project goes through like that. And when you're working, at pace, oftentimes you don't get a chance to stand back and go, oh, look, I'm actually making a difference here, or, I've made these changes. But like at the moment, I'm applying for like 1,000 jobs, or not actually 1,000 if anyone's worried about me, not that many, but, applying for a lot of jobs,
Sure.
a lot of work. But it's a lot of like sitting back and reflecting on what are my core skills, what have I achieved over the last 3 years working, where I have been working, and sitting back and looking back at, the work that I've done and the changes that I've made and implemented. It's extremely satisfying because I'm like, look at this amazing work I've done.
Yeah.
But like oftentimes when you're sitting there in the moment, it's like, oh, wait, no, I feel like I'm going backwards right now.
Yeah. It's like when I wake up and I can't draw. Like I have an idea in my head and I just can't get it onto the page. And I'm just like, what? When did I forget how next worked? Like, what is this shit? I was like, get really like frustrated with myself. And I'm just like, what am I doing? But, it's all just about like mood and that sort of thing. Some days you're going to be able to wake up. You're going to wake up and you're not going to be able to perform.
Yeah. It's hard. It's not easy. Yeah. What are some of the like parts of your job that people just completely don't realize is a thing that you have to do?
So everything that moves needs to be a rig. I guess in our line of work, it's not always the case, but like a rig, when I say a rig, what I mean is like there is an animation system that we use called Spine. And we have bones. So you won't, instead of having a character with their whole body, just like classic animation, where their whole body is one leg up and then one leg moved forward and then one leg down and then all the frames of a run cycle, you will just have the leg piece, the knee piece, the torso piece, and all the other pieces of the body, and you'll have like skeleton bones attached to them, and you can rotate those bones in the engine, and you could basically just like like a paper doll, like make just animations that way. Every single thing that you see that moves, and frankly, some of the stuff that doesn't move, all has to be like converted into these rigs. Another interesting thing is Crucia. I can talk about Crucia. So when we were figuring out how to do the original Innersloth, the original game, the crewmates are colored because you always have, there's a bunch of different colors for the crewmates. You have pink crewmates and blue crewmates and red crewmates. Obviously, you're not going to make 20 different animation rigs with different colored crewmates. That would take forever. So what they used to do is they would just make sprite sheets. They didn't even do rigs the way that we do. We're advanced. But they would do like a very bright saturated red and a very bright saturated blue for the 2 shades. And then they'd basically like just write a shader to pick out those colors and color them however they want them to. We, instead of doing that, because we find that if a design wants to use blue, we can't use that blue because it'll be like using green, like wearing a green shirt in a green screen. Suddenly you show up and like, your body's gone. We can't use stuff like that. But in with our method, we basically highlight a very thin sliver of fuchsia that is hideous. It's like this pinkish, gross, like super saturated fuchsia that we call crucia. And essentially, we have this very narrow band of it that we can use in shading and highlights and stuff like that. And the shader will sort of auto catch those colors and like convert them to whatever color we want. So now all of our assets, all of our color sensitive assets are just like covered in Crucia.
That would be like, I think the behind the scenes would be like really interesting to see, because it's a lot of like, oh, here's this weird workaround because, Among Us is not a game that is necessarily built for mods. Like a lot of it, there's a huge modding community around it, but like
not.
Yeah,
like Sam,
it's not like Minecraft
Sam,
where you
that
can
was the
install a mod.
understatement of the century. This game, let me just tell you, okay, I am uniquely qualified to complain about this game. The crewmate assets we make for 4x scale. We downscale them to 2x scale. We animate them on spine in that scale, and then they get downgraded to 50% of that for the final scale of the game, what you see on the screen. And we just do that so that we can get more fine-tuned with detail, and then when we downscale it, all those details are somewhat preserved. The map, the environment of Among Us, then you have like Polis or whatever. The environments are not at that scale. They're at a completely different scale. They're scaled way, way, way the fuck down, and then they're upscaled on the final version on the screen. And I'm guessing that's just because, they didn't have the encoder to like have a 6,000 pixel image to drop into the assets. So that they had to like shrink them down and then scale them up, which you could have done them in pieces or whatever. I don't know. The point is, environment artists, prop artists, and environment artists, UI artists, and crew like character artists all work at completely different scales, and they all have to work together. So if we have an animation where like a crewmate gets shoved into a locker, it's not just like, oh, we grab the locker, we put it in the crewmate rig, and then the crewmate gets thrown into it. It's like, no, the locker needs to be taken from the like pixel sprites or the sprite scale of the original map. It needs to be upscaled to crewmate scale, and then it needs to be upscaled again to working scale so that the actual artist can put it in their spot. So it's like whenever the crewmates interact with an environment piece at all, it's like a Herculean effort that's a huge pain in the ass.
That's crazy. And I suppose, it's all part of fun and games of the game.
I'm sure the game was just, they were like, oh, we're going to make this once and then we're going to put it out there and just see if people like it.
It's like the art of the bodge. There's a video by Tom Scott called The Art of the Bodge where he's talking about creating this huge emoji keyboard. And he talks about like the workarounds that you have to go through to be able to create, a massive emoji keyboard made out of like a lot of old keyboards. And it's just like crazy stuff that like if you tried to like retcon it for something else probably wouldn't work. It's crazy. Anyway, Zach, thank you so much for coming on Content Cable. It's been lovely having you on.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun. Just talking about what I do at parties is, like I said, like I make art for video games. That's what I tell people I do, because trying to explain that I manage a team of artists that make mods for weekly YouTubers. It's like I'll leave you on this. If there wasn't the YouTube angle, if it wasn't like we're monetizing like the viewership of this thing that we're doing, it like without that, it would just be like a bunch of eccentric rich dudes like paying a team of artists to make custom games for them every week. That would basically be what it would be like.
I'm just now thinking of like every famous YouTuber being like an eccentric 1920s billionaire.
Like Quincy Endicott from Over the Garden Wall.
Yeah. Lavish parties.
So much money. Do you know what these filthy hands have done? Sam, it's always great talking to you, and this is a great time, and y'all should continue to listen to Content Capable because it's really good, and listen to my Cabbages if you want as well.
Yeah, I was about to say, where can people find you on the internet?
I am on Twitter at Cybertoaster. I'm also one half of the team of two people that run at CabbageCast, our Twitter handle. at mycabbagecast on Instagram and mycabbagecast@gmail.com on the email stuff. I'm also on Instagram at Cybertoaster. You can find my art and stuff there. I haven't posted in a while because, like I said, I've been a little bit of a creative slump lately, but I'm hoping that's going to change very soon.
Always. It's always about to change.
Yeah.
And is there anything that you've been reading, watching, listening to, interacting with that you want to plug?
A plug. Oh, hold on a second. Just give me like a minute because I swear there's a really good one buried in here somewhere.
I've started writing out a list, planning out the rest of mine because I was like, I don't have the mental capacity for it. Except the one that I'm plugging this week is from like 6 months, not 6 months ago, like 3 months ago.
Yeah, what the hell? I'll plug a horror movie I saw recently called Host.
Oh, yeah.
This is a film that is available for free on YouTube. If you just search Host full movie, you will find it on YouTube. Semi-official looking capacity. It's a film that a bunch of like actors and people made during the pandemic, during the height of 2020. They shot it all on a Zoom call, and it's like people are like leaving and like entering and going and losing connection and reconnecting and it's basically like they are performing a Zoom seance, and shit goes horribly wrong. And then the seance director, the person who's there to like guide them through the seance, her internet just goes completely tops, like tits up. So she's out of the call, and now they're kind of like stuck in this like ever worsening situation. It's a thrill ride. It's a thrill ride because it feels so authentic. It just, you've seen this Zoom screen so many times that like when you see these people just kind of interacting on it, it doesn't feel like they're actors in a movie. It feels like you're watching an actual Zoom call, which gets really intense.
With the dodgy connection we've had on our Zoom call tonight, it's been like it almost feels like we've been recreating the movie Host. So
yeah, really.
Yeah. Well, you can find me at you can find me at sam.third.journalist on Instagram, on TikTok, and samobjournalist on Twitter. Make sure you follow the podcast Content, the letter N, Capable. That's on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm considering putting it on Facebook as well because I feel like it might get shared around a little bit there. So make sure you tell your friends about Content Capable. I really love when people just start talking about it. Share, rate, review, do everything. This week I'm going to plug the third season of The Umbrella Academy. Oh, what a crazy, crazy season.
Oh, man.
Batshit insane. Just, fucking
I've only
hell.
gotten a few episodes into that, but I keep meaning to, like, give it a proper watch.
It just keeps getting, like, the whole premise of The Umbrella Academy, it just keeps getting more and more ridiculous. And it just keeps going. And I'm like, how is this supposed to end? And I got to, like, halfway through the third season and was like, is this going to end, or are we just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again? Because it started feeling a little repetitive, but I think they've cut it off at just the right point. So fascinating.
The thing I wanted to throw in about my plug is that because Zoom calls back then, because all the free Zoom calls were only an hour long, the movie's an hour long. Host is only an hour long.
Love that. No one had a university like unlimited subscription like I've been abusing for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, thank you so much, Zach, for coming on the podcast. It's been such a lovely time to have you on again. It's been great. And I'm sure Alex and I will be on very soon to talk about buying a house. Yeah. 100%. Spoilers. All spoilers all the time. All the time. Thank you for listening to Content and Capable. You can follow the podcast socials at Content, the letter N, Capable on Instagram and Twitter. You can send an email to contentandcapablepod@gmail.com. Please give us a review on iTunes or Spotify to help others know that you love this podcast. The art was done by Opia. You can follow them at opia_art_. Opia is spelled O-P-I-A. Feel free to message them about making art for your project. Our music was written, recorded, and edited by Isabel Strauss-Reeds. You can find Izzy at Kane_I. That's I is in the body part. on Instagram and Twitter, and on YouTube at KaneI with no spaces. Feel free to message her about making music for your project or editing your podcast.
What's up, potheads? It's me, your host, Christina. Welcome to the restricted section. No, we're not in Hogwarts. It's like a metaphor. Do you get it? Like, we're raunchy, and we get drunk, and we make sex jokes, and we have an all spoilers all the time policy. So, you know, it's like the restricted section. I've been told that explaining jokes makes them funnier. If you've ever wondered how the Marauders map actually works, if you've ever thought that maybe Snape sometimes wears jeans, if you've ever thought that Draco and Harry are for sure in love, I mean, they're for sure in love. If you've ever had a hard time deciding who you'd rather bang, Bill or Charlie, obviously Charlie, then this podcast is for you. You don't even have to do the reading, we'll do it for you. Catch the restricted section every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts, and find us online at Restricted Section Pod.
Content and Capable is a podcast all about answering the question, how do you adult? Don't forget to rate and review, and I will see you next Monday for another episode.
Dave X Media.